Well, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. It's great to be working with you on this committee. I note that the women of the Senate have come today to be on time and to be here for this. I want to thank all of our witnesses as well who represent a wide array of perspectives and appreciate all of you for taking the time to join us. I think join with Senator Collins in recognizing the work of our first four witnesses, Senator McCaskill, Heller, Gillibrand, and Ayotte, for all of your time and attention to this really critical issue. Fighting back against campus sexual assault and violence really requires coordination and input and focus at every level. So I'm grateful that all of our witnesses took the time to be here today to talk about this. I said before, higher education is an important pathway to the middle class. It's an opportunity for students to grow personally and to develop skills that will prepare them to succeed in today's economy. With all of that to focus on, the last thing a student should have to worry about is whether they are safe on campus. But the harsh reality is that 1 out of 5 women is sexually assaulted in college, and men as well. In 2013 alone, college campuses reported 5,000 forcible sex offenses, and a recent study indicated that number could be much greater. So there should be no question that sexual violence on campus is a widespread, growing, and unacceptable problem. Simply put, in colleges and universities across the country, basic human rights are being violated. And all too often, current systems and campus climates encourage underreporting rather than action. As we talk about the seriousness of this problem, it's important to acknowledge the work already underway to address it. Survivors like Ms. Dana Bolger, who's a witness on our second panel, have bravely stepped up to make clear they expect far better from their schools and their communities. In doing so, they have forced a national conversation, and they've shown other survivors they're not alone. President Napolitano, great to have you here today. Ms. Flohnlacker and other university leaders have made fighting campus sexual assault a top priority. They have developed new partnerships between schools and communities and law enforcement to coordinate and improve response, and taken important steps to focus on prevention and improve compliance with the Clery Act, which is something Ms. Stafford has worked on closely. Just last month, thanks to the work of many here today, including Senator Casey, a member of this committee, regulations went into effect as part of the Violence Against Women Act of 2013 that will require schools to increase transparency about sexual violence and assault and strengthen prevention efforts. These are critical steps, but without question, there is much, much more to be done. So I see our conversation about Reauthorizing Higher Education Act as a critical opportunity for continued and urgently needed progress. I'm very pleased that key Senate leaders are here today with us to discuss their Campus Accountability and Safety Act legislation that would take steps to improve campus climate by requiring far greater transparency about the prevalence of campus sexual assault, put in place key protections for survivors, improve coordination with law enforcement, and impose harsher penalties on schools that are not meeting requirements. So as a mother and a grandmother and a United States Senator, I certainly want to know that when a student is attacked, her school and her community will be ready to respond with compassion, with respect, and with accountability. But I think we can all agree we need to do everything we can to engage students and schools so that sexual assaults don't happen in the first place. Recent research by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is part of the administration's ongoing efforts, has identified campus sexual assault as a public health issue and has shown that sustained comprehensive education programs can help prevent sexual assault, especially by preparing students to fight back against the damaging myths that surround rape and assault. And efforts to encourage bystander intervention can help break down social norms that implicitly sanction sexual violence. I am very eager to hear from all of our witnesses today about programs and policies aimed at prevention. But of course, as much more effective programs and requirements can make a huge difference, we cannot expect to fix this problem just by changing the rules. We have to do something much more difficult, and that is to change culture. For example, just a few years ago, Ms. Bolger brought to light the fact that at her alma mater, Amherst College, a fraternity had printed T-shirts depicting a woman being roasted on a spit like a pig. Those students went unpunished. Take a minute to think about the message that sends to students, male and female, about how much their community values women. And unfortunately, this is just one example of countless to choose from across the country. That's why the national conversation that students like Ms. Bolger have started and that other leaders, including many here today, have stepped up to support is so absolutely critical. A country that values women and all individuals is stronger for it. So we all need to do our part to keep this conversation going, and we need to make it louder. We've done far too little in Congress over the years to support survivors and to be a voice for women across the country, daughters and granddaughters who are counting on us. So I'm glad that Chairman Alexander and I agree that the HELP Committee needs to join the debate on campus sexual assault much more fully. So again, I want to thank all of our witnesses, including our colleagues who are here today, for taking the time to be such a critical part of this discussion and the work that all of you have already done with many other members on both sides of the aisle who are very much focused on this fight. As we continue our conversation about our country's higher education system and throughout our work on this committee, we have an opportunity to stand up for survivors, make clear the status quo is completely unacceptable, and help continue the conversation about changes we absolutely need to see. I am very committed to seizing this opportunity. I want to thank Senator Collins for being here today, and I want to recognize Senator Alexander as chairman of this committee to stepping up to this. So thank you all very much.